What should I know about Veritasium?
It was under the blood moon. I felt my heart come. I held you in this strange light, a place where shadows.
So basically, I'm looking to tie the entire world through Veritasium. Amazingly, there are still a lot of prognosticators, analysts, media pundits, investors who are swearing by a V-shaped economic recovery. Now, most dispassionate objective observers should realize that many of those who are preaching a V-shaped economic recovery get paid in the presence of a V-shaped economic recovery. So, caveat emptor. But let's go through a few facts and numbers to attempt to alleviate any concerns that Veritasium customers and clients may have that they're making the wrong decision. We're again going to use New York City as a test subject. Realize that New York City is extra in almost every regard. Extra density, extra capital, extra effect in terms of infections and deaths from COVID, etc. But of course, there are demographic and financial reasons for such. But New York City makes a very good text case because it is basically a microcosm of what follows for the rest of the country. The lethality and mortality numbers driven by COVID extend materially beyond the actual virus itself. What you see in the background is data from the CDC showing New York City historical and extrapolated historical average deaths. These deaths are superimposed on top of actual deaths from COVID, in addition to unrelated deaths that were not directly caused by the coronavirus itself that also exceed the historical average. Together, this is called the excess deaths. Excess deaths are deaths that can be measured above the historical trend line. So it could be argued that more people are infected by COVID than the numbers show, and thus the deaths are a smaller proportion of the total infected, so the disease is not as lethal. It can also be argued in the opposite direction that now all the deaths have been recorded because people died at home, etc. One thing that cannot be misconstrued, okay, is that there are more people dying. Okay, so regardless of where the deaths came from, more people are dying now than historically. And that spike in deaths just happened to have occurred when the coronavirus hit New York City. Okay, now you could take a look at the graph and see by how much, because it is extravagant. Okay, it is extravagant. Again, believe it or not, there are also many preaching a V-shaped recovery in other risky asset markets, such as real estate, and preaching a V-shaped economic recovery in municipal centers, city centers, etc., such as New York, Miami, et al. Well, I've decided to do a simple math exercise to show the folly and fallacy of such a thought. Step one, we have the U.S. Census Bureau quick facts for New York City. The median income for New York City household, is $60,762. Okay, a household could be defined as anywhere between one person and four. Okay, oftentimes you could have a household of 2, 3, or 4 people with one wage earner. Okay, so that's $60,762, which is median. Okay, we will prescribed as a single earning member family. So it could be anywhere from 1 to 4 or more, but one person earns. Okay, the total predicted number of excess deaths. Okay, and this number should be close to actual now because these numbers are slightly dated, in New York City is 17,152 people. Okay? These are people who have died. 17,152. So if you take number one, their income, and multiply it by number two, those who died, you'll get an answer, number three. 1,042,180. I'm sorry. 1,042,189,824. So basically just over $1 billion gone in terms of actual income. Okay, gone. This is not V-shaped, and it will never be V-shaped because these people are gone. They're dead. It's not bouncing back. It's not going to bounce back quickly. It's not going to bounce back slowly. It's not going to bounce back at all. Okay, this is not taking into consideration any multiplier effects. Okay, so borrowing, taxation, etc. That's over $1 billion gone simply by death. The multiplier effect actually works in the opposite direction. Okay, because before these people died, chances are they sought medical care. Okay, chances are they took off from work. So you have missing employees, you have excess medical care, you have missing labor and work. They won't be renting apartments. They won't be buying houses. They won't be buying apartments. They won't go shopping. They're not going to be paying income taxes. They won't generate sales taxes. It's gone. Okay, again, New York City is an outlier, but it is also, in my opinion, a microcosm of how much of the country will go, based upon several variables such as density. New York City is very dense. Proximity to being a port city or an airline hub, which New York City is both. Immigration hub, of which New York City is, etc. Okay, and also remember, New York City does not have a hard, hermetically sealed border. People come in and out of New York City at will. So when New York City has this level of economic and medical viral contagion, its neighbors will have it as well. So will the other side of the country, Florida, the Midwest, etc., and other countries as well. Facts. Simple math. This level of death, and I am not taking this lightly, this is actually awful, but I'm using the terms directly as to not beat around the bush. But this level of death, of mortality, and the loss of value and economic capital creation that comes with it is the definition of deflation. This is the opposite of what the Fed is seeking. So, if you suck $1 billion every 60 to 90 days out of the New York City economy, plus you close down all the shops, plus you force the city to spend $7.5 billion that it normally wouldn't have to spend, plus the city takes a significant loss in income. They stayed $3.5 billion, but that was weeks ago. Most likely significantly more than that in terms of sales tax and income tax. Remember, that $1 billion of economic value from the people who died are not coming back. What you see in this graphic here has to be expected. Retail vacancies. Dead people do not shop. And again, I do not want to make it seem like I am trivializing or minimalizing death. Death is the ultimate. New York has experienced a significant bubble. First, from 2000 to 2007, this was a residential real estate bubble, among a financial asset bubble, a bubble in Wall Street, etc., risky assets in general, but specifically a real estate bubble. Okay, both residential and commercial actually. The bubble popped in 2000 and second half of 2007. It deflated, crashed. It was reflated by aggressive money printing and QE by the Fed. So from 2010, second half of 2010, up until 2018, 2019, the bubble reflated with a fury that's never been seen before in the city. So you have a lot of supply. You see there's significant supply being built right there. That is right at the intersection of the Brooklyn Bridge in Brooklyn, downtown Brooklyn. There's construction like that going all over Brooklyn, all over Queens, all over Manhattan. Okay, it's significant. And again, not only do dead people not shop, they also don't rent or buy apartments. You're going to have significant supply meet a dearth in demand, meet depression level economics. And once again, I want to make it very clear that this is in no way attempting to belittle or trivializing the tragedy that's going on in New York. I'm a New York City native myself. I currently live in New York. Okay, but I do want everybody to see the facts for what they are, because I've noticed the facts are being politicized. I noticed the facts are being spun by those in the financial industry who benefit from more property being sold or more stocks being bought or more trading being done. This is an existential crisis. So the facts should be known to everybody, particularly those who would do business with Veritasium. As I have stated in the beginning of this video, we are going into extreme deflationary times. Death, absence of income, absence of the ability to generate economic capital, economic activity, sales, real estate, bubbles popping, and the bubbles pop before COVID lockdown. I would like to make that clear. If you look down in the summary below, you'll see links where I clearly demonstrated that and called it before everybody else did. But in deflationary times, such as the Great Depression, such as the Great Recession, all modern heavily deflationary times, the Fed or precursors to the Fed attempted to create inflation. And they did that by printing. Okay. The Great Depression, it wasn't necessarily modern monetary theory as applied, but since then, since say 1931, 32 on, money printing has been the solution du jour. And in 2008, 2009, the Fed went berserk. That was an era where the Fed and the Treasury behind it did more printing and money creation than at any time in the history of this country. Now, 12 years ago, the U.S. encountered what it thought was a once-in-a-lifetime crisis. The Fed reacted by printing more than it ever had, debasing the dollar significantly. Well, the Fed has printed more in the last 90 days than it has in its entire existence. It has expanded its balance sheet, basically purchasing stuff that nobody else wants, more than it ever has in its existence in the last 90 days. Each additional dollar equals less value per dollar. Thus far, we are at 2.3 trillion additional dollars, and we're still counting. The Fed has made it very clear that they're not finished yet, and this is just the beginning of this economic malaise that we're entering. I want all to take a very close look at the M2 portion of this graph. M2 is money, liquid cash accounts and dollars in circulation in the U.S. You see there's a significant spike from the last 90 days. And there was a much smaller spike during the last Great Recession, 2008, circa 2008. Okay, these spikes show where the Federal Reserve has created significantly more money to go into the economy. Okay, now take a look at the price of gold superimposed upon the M2 chart indexed to 1986. So what that means for those who are not economic nerds, 1986 is ground zero, and then all changes from 1986 and both M2 and the price of gold are reflected from that starting point, $1986. So everything's measured in $1986. Look at every recession, which is a shaded area. Look at the movement in M2, the amount of money in the U.S., liquid money in the U.S., and then look what happens to the price of gold very, very shortly thereafter. Not at the same time, but very shortly thereafter. The price of gold is extremely sensitive to money printing in the U.S. The price of gold is not only extremely sensitive to money printing in the US, it's extremely sensitive to money printing in every single country that employs fiat currency, which in this day and age is every single currency. This chart shows gold, which is that steady line at the top that says gold, right, as the index, as the base. And then all the other currencies are measured or priced against gold in this chart. Gold has held its value or is stronger than every single fiat currency ever made, okay, including all fiat currencies over the last 40 years. You'll see there was a time when the Swiss franc actually outperformed gold over time. Wow, that's amazing, right? But here's the secret. And if you look at the blurb to the right of the graphic, you'll see how it was done. You see, the Swiss franc was pegged to gold, which is how it was able to run with gold. You could see exactly when that peg to gold left. As soon as that peg to gold was depegged, as soon as the Swiss franc was depegged from gold, it collapsed below gold like every other fiat currency everywhere else in the world. Now, as you can see, the US dollar, like many other fiat currencies, but the US dollar is different, of course, because as of, say, World War II, circa World War II, the US dollar was the world's global reserve currency, and the US dollar, as the world's global reserve currency, both before and after World War II, has been inferior in terms of a stable store of value to gold for almost its entire existence. We are not talking a small sample size of just when gold performed well. 1 month, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. We were talking through the existence of the US dollar itself. Okay, now, past performance, of course, doesn't dictate future performance, but you can see a trend, and I attempted to explain the macro drivers behind gold basically going up as priced in US dollars. And the reality of the situation is US dollars go down in value, hence the relative price of gold goes up. Feel free to go back to any part of this video and click pause and examine these charts, graphs, and all the ample visual information I provided. There's a 4K version available of the video and a 1080p version, HD, so you should be able to see the charts relatively clearly. And now for this video's public service announcement, PSA. There's going to be a walkthrough of how you can purchase gold digitally through the VShaped Veritasium app. You purchase title to gold, physical gold, through the blockchain. You can do it easily within seconds after you've KYC. You can use a cell phone, tablet, computer, anything you want with an internet connection. And it's very easy to get physical delivery of your bars. You simply click the redeem button, which is the middle button in the interface. Right after you've KYC'd, of course, type in your name, address, where you want the shipment to go, pay for the shipment, and voila. Here you are in a freshly created Veritasium wallet that has Ethereum, Veritasium gold grams, Veritasium Veri tokens, and no US dollars. Okay. Let me show how easy it is to make a purchase. Go to VE Assets. We purchase another gram of gold. Actually, we have gold already, right? Let's go back and purchase an ounce of silver. Okay. Go to silver. Click buy. It gives you payment methods of bank wires and F. Of course, this is all on my cell phone. We'll go buy one with F. It gives you volatility warning. Purchase 1 gram of silver. We use our Veri to get a discount. With the discount, we have the cheapest silver available anywhere. Okay, agree to terms. And we are waiting for the discount to be calculated. It is calculated. Okay, click continue. Order's ready to be submitted. Blah, blah, blah. Click submit. You confirm to have the assets taken from the wallet. Second security confirmation being submitted. Voila. You submitted a purchase order to buy a highly discounted ounce of silver. I went to several gold bullion dealers in person and looked on the web, and this is by far the cheapest. And you have 3 years of storage built in, 3 years of security, 3 of the brinks, 3 years of insurance, and the full blockchain system as a token. All that. Pretty cool stuff. Um, it took about 5 to 10 minutes for the whole process to be fulfilled and returned with the gold purchase I just made. We'll assume the silver will take about the same time. I'm going to stop this video here though. Fast forwarding some, you see that our 1 ounce silver purchase took 1 minute and 42 seconds from the very beginning to actual receipt of the token. This speed can't be beat, and these prices can't be beat. The Veritasium Vader is a phenomenal use of blockchain technology.